A very good evening to all my friends. Meeting again the session of Organon philosophy, and we're discussing regarding the Kant's philosophy. In last lecture, we have finished the chapter regarding the record keeping, the chapter number 27. Today, we're going to learn directly with the chapter number 31, where he has tried to explain the importance of characteristics and importance of the totality in prescribing. And that's why he has named the chapter by name of characteristics. He has taken into consideration the aphorism number 146 to 152 from the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, and he has tried to explain his philosophy related with those 6-7 aphorisms. Right from 146 aphorism onwards starts the practical part of the Organ of Medicine. Most practical part of Organ of Medicine starts from the 146 onwards. So, if you are doing homeopathic practice, one must learn all those aphorisms by heart, including the footnotes. All pros and cons while dealing with the patient are explained by Hahnemann with its management. He has not explained it anywhere that you just give or prescribe a remedy, but he has explained everywhere that how to manage a case, and the way he has explained it is wonderful. The way he classified the diseases in the similar manner, according to the classification, he has explained the homeopathic management of all those diseases. And that's why, right from 146 onwards, aphorisms all have a practical importance. I think we have discussed all those things while discussing the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, and those who were not there in those sessions, my suggestion is that you must go through the videos on sixth edition of Organ of Medicine. You will get a detailed understanding of each and every aphorism explained over there. Today, we're going to learn Kant's philosophy regarding those aphorisms in the right from chapter number 31. Name of chapter is characteristics, and he starts with aphorism 146 given over there. The third point in the duty of physician. Third point means first point, that is the right from aphorism 1 to 70. Right from aphorism 71 to 105, 104. Second point is related with drug proving, that is 105 to 145. And third point means practical part of Organ of Medicine starts right from 146 onwards to 291. The first point deals only with the classification of diseases and the homeopathic case taking. Second point deals with the homeopathic drug proving. And third point leads with the practical application of the knowledge of homeopathy. So these are three important points which Hahnemann have explained in the aphorism number 71, and he answered those right from 72 to 104, 105 to 145, and 146 onward. And that's why he says the third point in duty of physician is to employ those medicines whose pure effects have been proved upon the healthy person in the manner best suited to the cure of natural diseases homeopathically. We'll take this up in our next talk. So this is what he starts explaining: the practical application of knowledge of medicines to the knowledge of disease, and it starts right from aphorism number 146 onward. So we have to learn all those things in detail. Then what he says, this third point is the in the duty of physician referred to in paragraph 146 really takes up the balance of the organ. Paragraph 147, of all these medicines, that one whose symptoms bear the greatest resemblance to the totality of those which characterize any particular natural disease ought to be the most appropriate, and certain homeopathic remedy that can be employed. It is the specific remedy in this case of disease. This is the last part of that aphorism. Hahnemann explains over there, you have to take the case, you have to make the totality of the symptoms, and you have to match that totality of the symptoms of the case with the totality, anti-type totality from the one of the medicines from your homeopathic medicine. Whatever medicine which has the most similarity is the medicine, is the specific medicine for that case, for that specific time. He has mentioned that remedy is specific remedy for that patient for that specific time. It is not the specific every time. Keep it in your mind. There are no specifics in homeopathy. What he explains over there is the only that state for which you have found it out a right remedy, and right, that remedy only for that specific state is the specific remedy of that case. And then he mentions it is not an uncommon thing in this advanced day of science to read of specific remedy. The old school distinctly affirms that there are only 3 or 4 specifics, but almost every offshoot who starts at something for himself has to a great extent the idea of specifics in him. One of the first things the quack physician seems inclined to do this, to commence advertising specifics for headaches, for diarrhea, for this and for that. This is altogether opposed to the homeopathy. In old school allopathy, there are specifics. They prescribe, everyone knows, fever, paracetamol, fixed, which is not there with homeopathy. You cannot. You cannot for headache, belladonna. It is not like that. Every headache is different. Every headache is different. Some patient might require belladonna, another might require berberine, another might require glonine, another might require natrum carb, another might require spigelia. Varies from individual to individual. So there are no specifics in homeopathy. Keep it in your mind. This is not possible because we have to treat patient individually. Every patient is a different individual. You have to find it out characteristic totality, match that totality with the patient, find it out right remedy and give it to the patient. That remedy is the specific remedy for that patient only for that specific time. And this is what he is explaining. There are no specifics in homeopathy except at the bedside of the patient when the remedy has been wrought out with a great endeavor and care. So it takes long time to reach to that specific of that time. You have to take into details all the case, all the details of the patient, then find it out totality, then repertorize the totality, find it out the remedy, then match it with materia medica, and then you find the right remedy, and that remedy is the patient's remedy. That remedy is the patient's remedy for that specific state. So that is only the specific. Otherwise, it is not, there are no specific. Then it may be said that the medicine which is found to be similar to the symptoms which characterize this disease is specific. So this remedy, which you find it out after whole case taking and all methods which you have used, that remedy is called to be specific remedy for that specific case for that specific time. So keep it in your mind. Your brain should not make a fixed idea that there are specifics in homeopathy. For diarrhea, one remedy. For dysentery, one remedy. No, don't make such a thing. Then failure rate is much more. Now, please note that there is an emphatic sense in that word characterize. Emphatic means spashta, parinamkarak, tham, fixed, rigid. You should be very confirmed. That is. So now please note that there is an emphatic sense in that word characterize. It is no ordinary expression. We have to read in earlier portion of Organon that the disease make itself known to the physician by signs and symptoms, and the totality of symptoms is the only sole representation of the disease to the physician. But that totality has to be studied in a certain that what there is among all symptoms that characterize the disease, underline, among all symptoms that characterize disease or marks the symptoms as peculiar. This is what the differentiation of Kant from the Hahnemann. In the seventh aphorism, Hahnemann made the definition of totality of symptoms as it is an outwardly reflected picture of the internal essence of the disease, that is of the affection of vital force. Hahnemann mentioned that whatever comes out is the totality of the symptoms. Kant says it is not everything which is useful. What makes the sense is characteristic. What characterizes that specific individual is the totality, because otherwise everything is common. If patient comes to you with vague features, doctor, I am having fever, please give me a remedy, you can't. But if patient says, doctor, I am having fever since yesterday, I got wet in rains and I could not sleep whole night and whole body is painful and his tongue is triangular red teeth, now you have a remedy. So you cannot prescribe on vague symptoms. And unless and until that symptom becomes characteristic, you cannot prescribe. And that's why Kent's definition of characteristic symptom is that it is the sum of all characteristic symptoms is called as totality of the symptom. Kent's definition is very specific. Kent says it is the sum of all characteristic symptoms is called as a totality of the symptom. Hahnemann says it is an outwardly reflected picture of the internal essence of the disease, that is of the affection of vital organs. Boning-Hussein was the most important follower of Hahnemann. He has made the definition in his own way. He explained that it is the sum of all complete symptoms is called as characteristic, is called as totality of the symptom. But when a symptom becomes complete, means it has a location, it has a sensation, it has a modality, it has a concomitant, then automatically that symptom becomes characteristic. So Boning-Hussein's definition and Kent's definition both are having as equal importance because both of them are nothing but the characteristics only. And it has the sense. Because unless and until you get a characteristic totality, you can't reach to the right remedy. Patient comes to you with palpitation, with severe left-sided headache, and his eye is very much painful, and it has started from occipital region, then comes home, head, and then settles over the left eye, and it is so painful, and eye becomes absolutely red with tremendous palpitation. This patient you can prescribe because you get the all characteristics of spigelia, which you can't if patient comes with the headache. So headache is general, but unless it becomes characteristic with location, with sensation, with modality, with concomitant, you cannot reach to the right remedy. And that's why Kent tried to explain the importance of characteristics in the totality of the symptom. And this is what he wants to explain. Is it clear to everyone? Okay, we'll go ahead. Now Hahnemann commences to analyze the totality of the symptoms for the purpose of giving it character. It has been said in these lectures that it is necessary to do that the information that leads up characterizing is really the information that makes the homeopathic physician wise, by which he has the ability to intelligently understand which he has to treat. So unless and until patient gives you characteristic, you cannot reach to something. You cannot analyze the case. You cannot reach to the conclusion. You must get that specific thing. Then you reach to the conclusion. For example, a patient comes with a severe fever blisters around the mouth. And he enters in your clinic. Doctor, see what has happened. It is so painful. I get irritated because of it. So it is a fever blister. And the weather is going on rainy weather. And then you ask to check the tongue of the patient, ask him to take out the tongue, and it is triangular red teeth. And now it becomes click to your mind, yes, this patient is Rustox. Now you prescribe Rustox, but here also you have to think about the potency. For the first case, Rustox required in 10 potency, but for this case, you will require Rustox in very low potency 6 because you require result very superficial level at the very much peripheral level. In earlier case of fever, the internal problem was strong, his susceptibility was very high, he was suffering mentally as well as physically, his expressing disease violently, he requires Rustox in high potency. But here, he requires Rustox in low potency. But unless you get all those characteristics, it is not possible to get a right remedy. And this is what he wants to explain over there. See what he says further. That medicine which is the best adapted is the most similar, but you cannot demonstrate beforehand that it is the specific homeopathic remedy. But you may deceived in your idea of nature of case. But when that remedy has appeared, then it may be seen that that remedy was homeopathic or specific, or that it was not homeopathic. He further adds one thing. When you will call this remedy as a specific, then he explains, only if it has acted and produced result in the patient completely, then that remedy is called as a homeopathic. If it is not working, it means it is unhomeopathic. So unless and until the remedy produces a positive change in the patient, you cannot call that remedy as a homeopathy. The way he tries to explain is very logical. And this is what he wants to explain over there. And further his comments, you have no idea as to what remedy will be homeopathic to the case until you have examined all the symptoms and then proceed to find it out what which is find it out that which is characteristic. So if you get a case, you have to go into the all details. I had a case with severe lumbar backache, but I was not getting the any results, any specific characteristics in that backache. So I take the whole case, and when I took the whole case, the patient has explained three important dreams. He explained that he has dreams of snakes, very marked, dreams of dead persons, very marked, dreams of water, very much marked. Now the whole case where you never get anything, but the dreams were characteristic. And he says, one of the dream I used to get daily. Either a snake, either a water, either a dead relative. If you repertorize all those three dreams, you get the Kali Carbonicum. Then I was very specific. Yes, Kali Carb, even though the Kali Carb backache was not explained by patient as it is, but you have characteristic features of the patient. And this is what he wants to explain, that unless and until you get the whole details of the case, it is not possible to reach to the right remedy. Otherwise, you are nowhere. And this he wants to explain. And further he adds in next paragraph, put that word characterizes in large type in red letters. So characterizes, he says this is what which is needed. Without that you cannot. You cannot dwell sufficiently long upon that because it grows greater and grander with every study of the case, with that idea of the characteristic. What is there in this case which makes it an individual? What is there in that makes it unlike any that ever existed? So you every case you have to go into detail, find it out what is something which is characteristic, which is either peculiar, which is either queer, which is either rare, or which is either strange. You have to find it out what is there out of these four. If you are able to catch one of it, then it is possible. If you are not, it is not possible. So there should be either a peculiarity, either a queerness. For example, a patient who comes to you and he says, Doctor, I'm getting recurrent abscess in my right ear when I walk. Is there any logical relationship that walking causes abscess in right ear? It is queer symptom called as queer. Queer means vichitra, which is not logically, you cannot explain logically. But such symptoms are present which make patient characteristic. It is given in carbolic acid, carboanimalis, this symptom. Much walking causes abscess in right ear. It is given in Allen's keynotes or even in Boeck's remedy. An illogical symptom, but it is present. So it makes the patient very characteristic. Or some peculiarity. Patient comes to you with eczema on both hands and he says, Doctor, it is severely itching and burning. I cannot control sometimes the burning. It is so severe and I put hands in hot water. Burning better by what application is the peculiarity of the arsenic album. Then you reach to the right remedy. But if he comes with eczema, you are nowhere. You cannot prescribe. Actually, he wants to explain all those things. Unless and until symptom characterizes, you cannot reach to the right remedy. Rare symptom is also characteristic symptom. For example, patient who is having severe one-sided headache, it gets aggravated whenever he goes into the sun. Whenever it always starts around 9 or 10 o'clock. As sun increases, his headache increases. And as sun comes down, his headache decreases. Every summer he has to suffer a lot. He was losing his place. He was losing his place while eating well. All those things. But whole thing denotes one remedy, natremio. But there was aversion to the salt. What is there? There was a aversion to the salt. Now question arises, when we learn the materia medica, we know natrum more craves the salt. But have you ever opened the repertory? Kent's repertory, the chapter stomach, desires for salt, salt desire, and you get natrum more for 3 months. And open the same chapter, open the aversion rubric, aversion to salt, natrum more is for 2 marks. So aversion to salt is a rare symptom of natrum more. Craving for salt is the common symptom of natrum. So you should not make your decision that this patient never craves salt, he is not natrum more. It is not like that. If your patient, even though he is having an aversion to salt, is also a natrum. So rare symptoms sometimes defines your remedy, and that's why they are characteristic. So he is explaining all those things. And we want to learn all those aspects which he tried to explain over there. What he further said, what is there in this case which makes it an individual? What is there in that it makes makes it unlike any that ever existed? In the case of the remedy, ascertain that which characterize it. When these two occur before perception, before man's mind, so that he can think upon them and he realizes that the remedy is most similar to of all in the materia medica, then he is assumed that that remedy will cure and only requires to be administered to prove that it is the specific. So unless you get such characteristic, you cannot prescribe. I used to get a patient. We used to get a typical farmer eczema every winter. Whenever winter starts, he used to come, and even every time he used to come, fully covered, whole body was fully covered, totally. So I asked, why do you cover? It's not too chill outside. But he says, I can't tolerate. Even in summer, I used to wear that. That is the characteristic. Eruptions, eczema coming or eruptions coming every winter, fully chilly, even wears the sweater even in summer is Sorina. You reach the remedy because it was characterizing. If it is not getting, you are not getting those characteristics, you could not get anything. You can't prescribe. And this is what he wants to explain. And these points he tried to explain. The homeopathicity, it thus sustained. The similitude has been borne out by medicines having cured. We cannot have demonstration that the remedy is homeopathic until it cures the sick man. See what he says. We cannot have a demonstration that the remedy is homeopathic until it cures the sick man. Your remedy should make that man cured, then it is called, yes, definitely this is homeopathic. This is very similar. We may only presume that it is homeopathic, or say it appears to us that it is homeopathic, because that which is the characteristic of the disease is most similar of all other things to have which characteristic of that remedy, or vice versa. Many times we presume our remedy is very perfect remedy for that patient, but unless and until it produces the desired result, you cannot label it as a specific homeopathic specific remedy. Second thing he mentions, we presume it only because our characteristics matches with that. We may reasonably assume that the remedy is the specific, but the homeopathicity can only be demonstrated by cure. If your remedy cures, yes, it is definitely perfect remedy. So it does not make a remedy homeopathic simply to be carried in my case. Homeopathic remedies are not homeopathic simply because they have been used by homeopaths. Very important sentence. If you have using any remedy to the patient, it is not called as a homeopathic remedy unless it has produced the cure. If it produced the cure, yes, you have reached to the right homeopathic remedy, the right simile. Remedies are not homeopathic because potentized and attenuated or prepared after fashion of our school. Again, one more comment he has made. Remedies are not called to be specific or homeopathic because they are just attenuated, they are potentized. But once they produce the results, then you can label, yes, this is homeopathic remedy. So we'll stop on this slide. Tomorrow we'll finish this chapter. This is again a very important point which is highlighting in this chapter regarding the importance of characteristic symptoms in the totality of the symptoms, and all matters a lot in your prescription. So we'll stop at this point, and in the evening we'll meet again at 8 o'clock with remaining part of the puja. It is again a very important aspect. Again, 2-3 lectures will require for puja. So today, some part of puja we are able to cover in today's session. So thank you being there. Any queries are there? We'll have a chat. Otherwise, we'll continue. Okay. So good evening, and we'll meet at night. Thank you.